Hello, friends. Welcome back to Sincerely Self Podcast. My name is Lexi. Welcome if you're new. I missed the last solo episode, I believe, and so this episode I'm very, very excited for. And it's a topic that I've never actually covered really, and it's just been really heavy on my heart lately. So I'm very excited for that. Before we jump right in, I do want to remind you guys, if you didn't see last week's episode, Valentine's Day episode, it was with my friend Liv. She's a master esthetician. It was amazing. We talked so much about self-care, the beauty industry, all the things. So make sure you guys go and listen to that if you haven't. Also, make sure to follow the Instagram and the TikTok, the YouTube, to make sure that you do not miss out whenever I upload clips, because I've actually been getting better at it. And also, you'll be the first to know whenever there's a new episode to drop, because I do post an episode preview the day before, sometimes even 2 days before. So whenever there's a guest, you'll know who's joining me, and you'll also know when there's a solo episode. So it is Sincerely Self Podcast. That's my username on everything, but it's also linked in the description, the show notes, wherever you're listening or watching. So yeah, all that's to say, let's dive right in. Oh, something also kind of fun, you guys. For those of you who don't know, I'm getting married in August. Very exciting. I'm starting to get into the planning a little bit more, and it's good. It's kind of stressful, but it's been really fun and it's been really exciting to see. But that being said, I feel like I have been struggling with what we're going to talk about today. And so I have been looking into it a lot and praying about it a lot. And, anyways, I feel like it's something that I should talk about today. So, without further ado, let's jump right in talking about the power of the tongue, okay? First, I'm going to mention how often it's talked about in scripture, because it is talked about so much. I think when we think of the power of the tongue, people talk about manifesting and how you can manifest things into your reality by talking about it. And the power of the tongue is just further evidence of that. And it is talked about so much in the Bible. So that's why I want to start in the Bible, because people think of it as being woo woo, but it's true. It is fact that what you talk about the most and what you focus on the most is what you are going to experience. So Proverbs 8:21, I'm just going to paraphrase these things. Proverbs 18:21 talks a lot about a small but immensely powerful force capable of either life or death. That's how it describes the power of the tongue, okay? Capable of life or death. We say things like, I'm dead, or I'm going to die, or I want to KMS, things like that, as a joke. We don't realize that we are literally speaking death on ourselves by saying those things, even though we don't mean it literally. Especially when you don't mean things literally, you should not be saying them even as a joke. Even as a joke, you guys, or saying, I'm so broke, I'm so poor, I'm so fat, I'm so ugly. You are speaking these things into your life. You are literally speaking these things over yourself. So, watching what you say, because even if you mean things in a joking manner, the more that you say them, the more that they will start to appear in your life. Overall, in the Bible, the power of the tongue is described as a fire of restless evil and full of deadly poison. It is that serious. It's not, I don't know. I think people take it very, very lightly, and it is not something to be joking about. It's not something to be taking lightly. This feels like so serious of an episode for me to make, but it is life-changing. It really is matter of life or death. So that kind of brings me into, the Bible talks about power of the tongue as a positive thing too. Words can either heal and bring abundance, or they can destroy and divide. So words can also bring in positive things into your life. You really can speak abundance into your life and speak life into yourself. What I mean by that is speaking positive things over yourself, assuming, if you will. And that brings me into the law of assumption. If you don't know what the law of assumption is, it is made popular by Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard has so many amazing books. I really, really recommend you go and read them, especially if you want to learn about kind of like the laws of spirituality. Law of assumption is one of them. It is basically assuming the feeling of your wish already being fulfilled brings it into the reality. So showing up and feeling as if you've already accomplished that thing, you already have that money, you've already got that car, you've already got that relationship, embodying that in every aspect of your life as if it is already there, is probably the most powerful way to use the power of the tongue in your benefit. Joe Dispenza talks about a lot about this as well. Y'all know I love Joe Dispenza. His book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, I'm trying to start reading that again. It's amazing. It talks a lot about this. Being able to use your creativity in a way to be able to show up and just assume that this thing is already yours that you want. If you believe in God, even being like, God has already provided this for me. Some people say universe. I'm going to say God, saying God has provided this for me. This thing is already mine. I already own this car. I already have this job. I already have this money. God has provided it for me. And gratitude is also so important with the power of the tongue. I'm so grateful that I have this thing. Grateful for what you have now and grateful for what you will have. Grateful for what you have now is so important. Writing letters to God or to Source and saying, I'm so grateful for my house. I'm so grateful for my food. We talk about gratitude, but it really is the best way to bring abundance into your life, because once you show that you're grateful for what you have, you will be more open and more energetically ready for more things, and showing gratitude for those more things that God will bring into your life. Not if, when God brings it into your life, right? And so being able to assume these things and speak these things into the reality is the most foolproof way of using the power of the tongue to your benefit. Now let's talk about how the power of the tongue can sometimes happen negatively. As much as you can assume positive things into your life, you also can assume negative things into your reality. And by that, I mean kind of what I touched on earlier, saying things are not working out for me, nothing ever works out for me, having a lack mindset, believing the worst, which in a way, I feel like as humans, we kind of are wired to feel that way, wired to be that way, but it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to feel that way. We can choose to think different. The next thing that I kind of want to touch on is we talked a little bit about how the power of the tongue is talked in the Bible. We talked a little bit about the law of assumption. So the next thing I want to cover is using the power of the tongue in a positive way, and then we're going to cover in more of a negative way how it might be showing up in your life. There are some mental changes that have to be made before you start to see the change in your life, because once you start changing the way that you talk about yourself, and I keep saying speaking life over yourself, what I mean by that is speaking abundance into your life. I am so rich. There's like a trend on social media, and I think it's so cute, talking about how richness isn't just financially. And once you're able to witness the richness in other areas of your life, you will see financial abundance. And so viewing yourself as rich from the friendships you have, the relationships you have in your life, having a roof over your head, having food to eat, really we view it as minute things, but they are such blessings. And once we're able to have gratitude for those things in our life, the things that we experience every day, the things that we honestly take for granted a lot of the time, once we're able to start recognizing those, then we'll be able to feel more comfortable venturing out of that and showing up as that. And what I mean by that is financial abundance, saying I am so financially abundant, I'm financially secure, everything is working out for me, and genuinely believing that. That goes along with the law of assumption, being able to show up as a version of you that already has that. But journaling helps with this. Affirmations helps with this. Affirmations are, for me, really the biggest game changer that got me out of my lack mindset the most. But it really does come from within, of viewing yourself as worthy enough to even experience these things. So yeah, that's how you can kind of use the power of the tongue in your favor, or in like a manifestation aspect. But let's talk about how it might manifest in a negative way, because it is very true, and it is probably the way that we notice things the most in our life. Accidentally speaking negativity over yourself instead of life. Making jokes like I'm dead, or I want a KMS, or things like that. Joking about your life, it really is that serious. What you speak is what becomes your existence, especially frequently. And there are jokes like that we all make, not we all, but a lot of us will make without even thinking. And that is speaking negativity into your existence. You really want to try and have as positive of a outlook and as positive of a narrative as you can, to the point that it feels a little bit ridiculous. Like, even when things are going wrong, you're like, this is actually working out for me and this is in my favor, because it is. But you're going to sound a little bit crazy at first, being like, my car breaking down on the side of the road is happening for me. Burnt toast theory, meaning it's happening to keep me from something that could harm me. I lost this job and it's for me. That is happening in my favor, and it is. You know, we lose the things that are no longer serving us, but being able to have that mindset even while it's actually happening. Of course, when we trust in God, we can see that after the fact, but being able to trust in the moment, like, this is happening for me, this is happening in my favor, not only soothes you through the process, but it also continues to speak that abundance into your life. You trust yourself, you trust God, you know that everything is actually genuinely working out for you. I want to leave you guys with this. I mentioned it earlier in the episode, but words can either heal and bring abundance or destroy and divide. Words can bring abundance and healing into your life, into the life of other people, or it can bring destruction and destroy. And I think now is such a prominent time to use your words, to speak life over others, to speak peace, to speak abundance. During Bad Bunny's performance, he talked a lot about love is greater than hate and love is more powerful than hate. And we can't overpower hate, with more violence, with more negativity. That's not the way to do it. But we can speak life into others. We can speak safety and peace over others. We can pray for the world. Peace, and I talk a lot about this. Oh, you guys aren't even ready. I talk a lot about this in an episode I recorded with a guest. This episode is unfortunately not going to be out for probably like another month or two. But you guys, I'm so excited for when the episode comes out. I talked so much about peace with somebody who is very much a specialist in that kind of thing. Anyways, peace is not something that you can fake. And it is so much more high vibrational than hate. And so if more people are engaging in peace, engaging in love, engaging in morality and good conscience, the more that we will see it manifest into our reality. I genuinely believe if a lot of people are rooting for something and praying for something and believing that with God's help it will happen, that it will happen. There's a process for everything. And loving yourself, love in general is loving yourself, loving others, love in general is such a powerful energy that cannot be faked. And there's a lot of horrible things happening in the world right now, but I also see people coming together more than ever to stand up for people that they've never met, stand up for something that doesn't affect maybe them personally, but knowing that love thy neighbor has no boundaries. You can't pick and choose which neighbor you want to love. And I mention this every time that I talk about this topic because, and I'm being a little bit censoring with it just because I don't want this episode to get taken down, to be honest. But I think there are so many people that claim God's name in something that is completely ungodly. The mistreatment of his people, the mistreatment of his children, in the sake of money, in the sake of greed. Jesus, when he was on earth, talking to the Pharisees and the tax collectors, and primarily when Jesus was talking to the Pharisees after he flipped tables, he told them, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, woe to you." He says, and this is obviously not exactly the scripture, but he says, you won't make it to heaven, but you won't let anybody else make it either, because they're, spreading false doctrines, spreading false information that God has boundaries and God doesn't love all of his children and God limiting God. And that's not gospel. There's a lot of people that call Jesus' name and use his name in something that is not doctrine and that is not gospel. It's not in the Bible. And biblical Jesus would be at the protests. Biblical Jesus would be posting about it, spreading information about it, advocating for those who are being affected by what's going on right now. He would not be in support of the administration. He would not be in support of the billionaires who, instead of using their money to help those in need, they are actually taking more from those in need to get more. Jesus was very much against greed, very much against those who chased riches instead of taking care of his people. He literally said, if you have money, offer it. Like, offer it and see who you can help. Even if somebody says that they're okay, if you feel like you need to help them, help them. Like, Jesus was so adamant on helping others. And so it just really irks me when people claim to be Christian or a follower of Jesus and then they slander people who are not the same race as them. They slander people who don't speak the same language as them and follow along with these billionaires that do not care about them at all. It just makes no sense to me, and it is honestly so disrespectful to our Father in heaven. That's like kind of a tangent away from, but honestly not. Power of the tongue, you're speaking about spreading false doctrine, like, is really, really, really crazy. One of the disciples, I believe it was, guys, I'm still learning, okay? It was one of the disciples in Galatians, and he sent a letter to the Galatians, and he was like telling them, you can't add or subtract from gospel. That's false doctrine. You will be condemned for it. You will be judged for it. And you're affecting other people's walk with Christ by doing that. I believe it was Paul who sent that letter to the Galatians after he had taught them and left and then heard of the things that they were doing. And he was like, do not do that. You can't add or subtract from the gospel. Jesus already gave you everything in the Bible exactly in full how it is. There is no need to add to it. Anyways, so just a moment to reflect for maybe some of us who are not seeing it as that deep. It is that deep. Your soul is on the line, really. But anyways, power of the tongue. Let's use this time to speak life into everyone, to speak love into everyone, to speak discernment and awareness into the world, into the United States, and speak peace and more of God's love, more of God's mercy in the world. And I'm positive that if there are enough of us doing it, that there will be some change. And if the change is the second coming, I'm excited. I love you guys. If you did not catch last week's episode, make sure you go and listen to that. Next week, we'll have a really amazing guest. You guys, it was the first week of February. I recorded with like 7 guests. And so there's a lot of episodes that I'm just like so excited. I love telling you guys about the guests that are coming, but I can't tell you yet. I'm like, I got to keep it to myself right now. But some really, really exciting guests. Something I've been struggling with and I kind of feel called to talk about really quick actually is recognizing your growth and recognizing how far you've come. I've noticed it in my own life. God has kind of given me a revelation on I really don't recognize that where I'm at right now is where I prayed to be a year ago. Like, I didn't have progress with the podcast and I don't know, where I'm at right now, I prayed for a year, and now I have it, and I'm like not even recognizing it and feeling like I need to be doing better. I need to be doing more. And I have been struggling with recognizing my progress and recognizing my prayers in real time in my reality because I'm so focused on more and more and forward, and I'm missing it right now. And I'm not recognizing what I've already been blessed with. And if you also struggle with seeing where you are, take a minute and think of where you are right now compared to where you were a year ago, compared to where you were 2 years ago. there is some aspect that you have grown so much and you are not giving yourself credit for. I think of where the podcast was even a year ago, I just barely started doing guests that I didn't know personally at the beginning of 2025. And now we've had probably near 100. I don't actually know. I will have to go back and count. But we've had countless guests. I have guest bookings booked out all the way to July. I had to close my bookings. Like, I'm not recognizing things like that, like the growth. And so here's your reminder. If you're having a hard time recognizing how far you've come, take a minute and realize that right now where you are is where you prayed to be previously. And be proud of yourself in that. You can be proud of where you are and also still be working towards something else and also still be wanting to grow. That's the best thing that you can be. But you have to appreciate where you are right now. Power of the tongue, speak life into yourself, speak abundance into yourself, and speak gratitude. Gratitude, love, and peace are really the highest frequencies you want to be vibrating on. I talk about frequencies a lot. If you guys want, I will do an episode on that. Joe Dispenza really opened my eyes to it a lot, and so did Abraham Hicks. And so I can talk a lot about it. I can do an episode on it, but we don't really got the time right now, but I would love to dive into that. But the frequency that you're on, everything has a frequency. And if you're at a higher frequency, you're going to be more magnetic. You're going to be attracting in more abundant situations instead of low vibrational ones. You're going to bring in more abundant and high vibrational people into your life, experiences. Everything is going to have to match your energy. Not that you won't have bad things happen, but you're going to bounce back so much faster if you're high vibrational and you have love and gratitude and peace. You know what I mean? So I can do a whole episode on that, but little tangent right there. I love you guys. Make sure you go subscribe to the YouTube. There's a YouTube video every single week with the episode in case you ever want to go and watch it. And this episode is available wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you listen. And I know I didn't get this one up at 5 a.m. You guys, I've been so bad lately. And I can take accountability on it. I've been bad with uploading. I've been worse before, but I've been kind of bad lately this year. So now that I'm recognizing the growth, hopefully it'll help me. I've been in like a creative rut almost. It's been tough. I've been feeling kind of stagnant and stuck. So I'm working on getting out of that. And if you're feeling that way, girl, I'm right here with you. But we're about to be in another month. I don't know why. March makes me think of abundance. Maybe it's because of like the green and, it just makes me think of abundance. So I am speaking that into the life of all of us. I'm speaking abundance and health and love and financial blessings into the life of all of you who are listening to this episode in Jesus' name. I love you guys, and I